Welcome to Motivational Humanity. You are not alone. Have you spent your whole life asking if you're enough? What if I told you your value was never up for debate? Today you'll finally see it. Your worth has never been something you needed to earn, yet somehow most of us have spent a lifetime believing that it was. From the very first moments we became aware of others' opinions, we began to measure ourselves, our successes, our failures, our beauty, our intelligence, our kindness against the approval of those around us. We learned to shrink in order to be accepted, to mold ourselves into versions that could be praised or tolerated. And in that process, we forgot something profound, the quiet, unwavering truth that you are inherently enough. There is no contract you must sign, no achievement you must accomplish, no perfect act of validation that can add to or subtract from your value. It simply exists. Yet even when we intellectually understand this, the feeling can be hard to embrace. Fear whispers in our minds, what if I'm not enough? Shame creeps in when we notice others succeed, when their lives appear fuller, brighter, more worthy. Self-doubt digs its claws into our hearts, convincing us that we are only valuable when we are seen, praised, or rewarded. But awareness is the first step toward freedom. It begins with recognizing the moments when you question your worth, when you adjust your behavior to avoid criticism, when you apologize for existing in a way that feels authentic to you. These are the moments that illuminate the difference between external approval and inner truth. Awareness asks us to pause, to breathe, and to reflect. How often have I silenced my desires, my opinions, my voice in order to be liked? How often have I asked someone else to declare my value because I didn't trust that it was mine to claim? When we notice these patterns, we start to reclaim the space that belongs to us. We start to understand that our worth was never up for debate, and no action, mistake, or rejection can change that. A simple but powerful practice is to write down 3 things you genuinely like about yourself today. Notice how it feels to give yourself credit without waiting for someone else to do it. Notice the resistance, the discomfort, and meet it with compassion. Awareness is not about instant transformation. It is about gently illuminating the shadows of self-doubt so that the truth of your value can quietly, steadily take root. In that awareness lies freedom. The freedom to stop shrinking, to stop asking, to stop pretending, and to finally stand in the life that has always been meant for you. Vulnerability is one of the hardest things we are asked to embrace in life, yet it is also the doorway to authentic living. For so long, we have been trained to hide pieces of ourselves, to carefully curate what others see, and to protect our hearts from judgment. We learn to perform, to wear masks that fit the expectations of our families, our friends, our colleagues, and society at large. Every smile that was forced, every nod that concealed disagreement, every agreement that went against our own feelings became a small act of self-erasure. And slowly, over time, we began to forget what it feels like to simply be seen fully, completely, without conditions. We live in a world that rewards compliance, that celebrates people who fit neatly into boxes, who follow the rules, who make others comfortable. Yet deep inside, there is a persistent voice asking to be heard. That voice wants to speak, to express, to exist in its own truth. Yet fear keeps it muted. Fear whispers, if they see the real you, they will reject you. If you speak your truth, they will leave. Shame adds its weight, insisting that our feelings are too much, too inconvenient, too unacceptable. And so, to protect ourselves, we shrink. We silence our opinions. We prioritize approval over honesty. We convince ourselves that pleasing everyone else is the safest path, when in reality it slowly erodes our spirits. The paradox is that vulnerability is not weakness. Vulnerability is courage disguised as openness. It is the willingness to show up even when the outcome is uncertain, to speak your truth even when it might be uncomfortable, to honor your feelings even when they don't align with the expectations of others. It is saying in the quietest, bravest way, I exist as I am, and I am worthy of being here. That courage does not need to be loud or grandiose. It does not require sweeping gestures or dramatic declarations. Often it is found in the small daily acts of choosing authenticity over pretense, raising your hand in a meeting when you have an idea, saying no to something that doesn't feel right, admitting to yourself and others that you need help, expressing love without expectation of reciprocity. Yet even knowing this, practicing vulnerability can feel terrifying. We fear judgment, humiliation, and rejection. We fear that our vulnerability will be met with indifference or cruelty, and the risk of exposing our hearts seems too high. Sometimes it is easier to retreat into invisibility, to hide behind humor, deflection, busyness, or perfection. And while these strategies may protect us temporarily, they also keep us from connection, from trust, from the fullness of life. We were never meant to live isolated behind walls of pretense. The walls keep us safe, yes, but they also keep out joy, intimacy, creativity, and the deep satisfaction that comes from living aligned with our true selves. The first step toward embracing vulnerability is to notice where we have been hiding. Where do you hold back in your relationships, at work, or even with yourself? What conversations do you avoid because you fear the other person's reaction? Where do you pretend to be okay when inside you feel anything but? Awareness is not judgment. It is recognition. It is the gentle act of noticing without blaming yourself for the patterns you developed long ago to survive. And those patterns were necessary once. They were strategies that kept you safe. But safety and growth are not the same thing. And at some point, you are called to step beyond the boundaries of old habits and into the uncertain but expansive space of authenticity. To take this step, you must be willing to practice self-compassion. Vulnerability asks for courage, but courage thrives on kindness, not criticism. When you feel exposed, afraid, or rejected, instead of turning inward with blame or self-loathing, place a hand on your own heart and remind yourself that being human is enough. Your feelings are valid, your voice is valid, and your presence matters. Self-compassion allows you to face the discomfort of vulnerability without shrinking in fear. It gives you the strength to continue showing up, even when it is hard, even when the outcomes are uncertain. One of the most practical ways to embrace vulnerability is to start small. Choose one area of your life where you can be slightly more open, slightly more honest, slightly more true to yourself. Perhaps it is sharing an opinion you would normally keep to yourself, admitting a struggle you have been hiding, or expressing appreciation or affection that you would usually withhold. Observe what happens, notice the fear that arises, notice the resistance, and then notice what it feels like to release a little bit of the mask and allow yourself to be seen. Often, the response is not as terrifying as we imagined. Often, connection deepens. Often, trust grows. And even if the outcome is not perfect, the act of stepping into vulnerability strengthens your sense of self and your ability to navigate life with integrity and courage. Another key aspect of vulnerability is embracing your emotions fully. So often we are taught to minimize, hide, or control our feelings, especially the ones that feel negative, like sadness, anger, or fear. But emotions are not weaknesses. They are signals. They are messengers telling us where our boundaries are, what we need, and what matters most to us. To be vulnerable is to allow yourself to feel deeply, to express those feelings honestly, and to allow them to guide your actions rather than suppressing them for the sake of comfort or approval. This is not always easy. It may require tears, uncomfortable conversations, or admitting truths that have been long denied. But each step brings freedom and deepens your connection to yourself and others. Vulnerability also teaches us about the power of authenticity in relationships. When we allow ourselves to be truly seen, we invite others to do the same. Pretending may keep people at a safe distance, but it also prevents intimacy. True connection comes when we show up as we are, without masks, without pretending, without trying to earn acceptance. This does not guarantee that everyone will like or understand us. It does not guarantee that we will never be hurt, but it does guarantee that we are living in alignment with our truth, and that the relationships we do form will be rooted in genuine understanding, respect, and mutual care. Ultimately, embracing vulnerability is an act of radical self-respect. It says, I am worthy of being seen, heard, and loved exactly as I am. It rejects the false narrative that our value depends on external validation, performance, or perfection. It allows us to step fully into life with courage, honesty, and a deep sense of self-worth. Vulnerability is not a destination, it is a practice, a daily choice to shed the masks that have protected us for too long and to honor the person we were always meant to be. To begin practicing this today, take one step toward being authentically yourself. Speak your truth in one small situation. Express one genuine feeling. Share one part of yourself that has been hidden. Notice how it feels. Sit with the discomfort without judgment. Reflect on the courage it took to be seen, even for a moment. And when fear or shame arises, meet it with kindness and remind yourself that being vulnerable is not a liability. It is your most powerful path to connection, freedom, and self-respect. Step by step, moment by moment, choice by choice, you can release the need to please everyone else and embrace the life that is waiting for you on the other side of fear. Your worth is not conditional. Your value is not negotiable. By daring to be vulnerable, you reclaim a part of yourself that has been hidden. And in doing so, you step into a life of authenticity, courage, and profound fulfillment. Courage is often misunderstood. Many of us imagine it as something bold, loud, and heroic, a dramatic act performed in front of others. But true courage is quieter, subtler, and often invisible to the outside world. It is the steady, unwavering choice to stand in truth, even when fear tries to pull you back. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to move forward despite it. It is the gentle but persistent voice within you saying, I will honor myself, even if it is uncomfortable, even if it is hard, even if the outcome is uncertain. For most of our lives, we have been conditioned to believe that courage requires perfection, success, or external validation. We think we need the right words, the right timing, or the right audience to act bravely. And so we wait, we hesitate, we shrink. Fear convinces us that our voice is too small, our feelings too insignificant, our needs too burdensome. Shame tells us that if we speak up, we will be judged, rejected, or dismissed. And self-doubt whispers that we are not equipped to handle the consequences. The truth is that courage is available to us in every small decision, every quiet act, and every boundary we dare to draw. One of the most important acts of courage is learning to speak your truth. Not the truth you think others want to hear, but the truth that aligns with your heart, your values, and your integrity. Speaking your truth does not always come with applause or understanding. Sometimes it comes with conflict, disappointment, or rejection, but it is a necessary act for living authentically. Each time you express what is real for you, you reinforce the message that your voice matters and that your feelings, needs, and boundaries are valid. Silence may feel safer, but it slowly erodes the sense of self, leaving you disconnected from your own power and truth. Courage also involves saying no when you want to say no, and yes when your heart says yes, regardless of the expectations or pressures from others. It means making decisions that honor your well-being, even if they are unpopular or misunderstood. This can feel terrifying at first because it challenges the habitual patterns of pleasing, accommodating, and prioritizing others over yourself. Yet it is through these choices that we reclaim ownership of our lives. Each decision made from courage reinforces the belief that you are worthy of respect, care, and love simply for being who you are. Another layer of courage is vulnerability in action. It is the willingness to be seen fully, even when the stakes feel high. It is raising your hand in a meeting when you feel uncertain, sharing a concern that might provoke disagreement, or asking for support when you are struggling. These acts require bravery because they expose the parts of you that fear judgment or rejection. Yet they are also acts of liberation because each time you step into visibility, you dismantle the false belief that hiding is safety. True safety is never about hiding. It is about standing in your truth and trusting that you are enough, no matter what others think. Courage also teaches us about boundaries. Many of us have been raised to believe that setting limits is selfish or unkind. We fear that saying no will create conflict or alienate others. But courage reframes this understanding. It reveals that boundaries are not only an act of self-respect, they are a gift to those around us. When we communicate clearly what we can and cannot tolerate, we create the conditions for healthier, more authentic relationships. It is courageous to assert your limits without apology, to prioritize your emotional and mental well-being, and to do so consistently. Each boundary you set strengthens your sense of self and teaches others how to treat you. Facing fear is another essential part of courage. Fear is not something we eliminate. It is something we navigate. It arises when we confront uncertainty, risk, or change. Courage does not require us to be fearless. It asks us to notice the fear, acknowledge it, and then move forward anyway. Perhaps you fear confrontation, failure, or abandonment. Perhaps you fear that speaking your truth will fracture a relationship or provoke disappointment. These fears are natural, but they are not signals to retreat. They are signals that growth is near, that stepping forward will bring alignment, liberation, and a deeper connection to your authentic self. Courage is the willingness to step into that fear and act, knowing that you are stronger than you have been led to believe. An essential practice for cultivating courage is reflection. Each day, consider the moments when you acted with bravery and the moments when fear held you back. Reflect on the patterns, the triggers, and the lessons embedded in both experiences. Ask yourself, where did I honor myself today? Where could I have honored myself more? By observing these patterns, you begin to recognize that courage is not a single heroic act, but a series of small, intentional choices that accumulate over time. Each choice strengthens your confidence, deepens your self-respect, and expands your capacity to live authentically. It is also crucial to practice self-kindness as you cultivate courage. Courage is not a perfect, flawless quality. It is messy, imperfect, and evolving. You may stumble, retreat, or falter, and that is part of the journey. When fear wins in a moment, do not shame yourself. Instead, meet yourself with compassion, acknowledge the effort, and recommit to showing up again. Courage thrives not in harsh judgment, but in steady persistence, patience, and grace. Each time you choose to rise after retreating, you reinforce the truth that your value is inherent, your voice matters, and your life is worthy of being lived boldly. Courage also demands honesty with yourself. It requires examining your own motives, fears, and desires without denial or distortion. It asks, am I acting from alignment with my truth or from a desire to be accepted, liked, or safe? Am I shrinking to avoid discomfort, or am I stepping forward to honor myself? These questions are not meant to induce guilt. They are invitations to deeper awareness. The answers guide your actions, allowing courage to be a conscious, deliberate choice rather than a reaction to external pressures or internal fear. Finally, courage transforms how we experience life. When we act with bravery, we invite more authenticity, connection, and fulfillment into our world. Courage shifts our perspective from survival to thriving, from hiding to showing up, from silence to self-expression. It is not a one-time event, but a daily practice, a rhythm of choosing alignment, integrity, and truth over fear, approval, or complacency. Every act of courage, no matter how small, reshapes our identity, strengthens our resilience, and deepens our connection to life itself. To begin practicing courage today, start with one small but meaningful action. Speak a truth you have been holding back. Set a boundary you have avoided. Acknowledge a fear and take a step anyway. Observe how it feels. Sit with discomfort without judgment. Celebrate the bravery it took to act, even in a small way. Reflect on the fact that each courageous step, no matter how seemingly insignificant, strengthens your connection to your own worth, your voice, and your life. Courage is not a destination. It is a daily practice, a choice, a declaration that you will no longer hide, shrink, or compromise your authenticity for the sake of comfort or approval. Step by step, word by word, choice by choice, you can reclaim your life through courage. You can finally honor your voice, your boundaries, and your truth. Fear will still appear, but each act of bravery reduces its hold. Each courageous step reminds you that your presence matters, your life matters, and your value was never up for debate. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the presence of integrity, self-respect, and unwavering commitment to yourself. It is the bridge between who you have been and the person you are ready to become. Change is never easy. Even when we know in our hearts that we need it, even when we recognize the patterns that no longer serve us, stepping into transformation feels uncomfortable. Our minds resist the unknown. Our bodies resist leaving the familiar, and our hearts resist surrendering the illusions we've held for safety. We cling to routines, habits, and relationships, not because they nourish us, but because they feel predictable. Yet growth requires movement, and movement requires courage. To change is to step away from the comfort of repetition and toward the uncertainty of possibility. One of the most destructive forces that prevents change is comparison. It is an invisible weight, one we carry from the earliest moments we became aware of others. We look at someone else's success, their beauty, their relationships, their achievements, and we measure ourselves against them. We tell ourselves, I'm not enough, I'm behind, I'm failing. And in that measuring, we forget that our journey is unique, that our value is intrinsic, and that the only person we should compare ourselves to is the person we were yesterday. Comparison steals joy, creates resentment, and distorts reality. It convinces us that we are lacking, rather than simply growing in our own time and in our own way. Change demands that we let go of comparison, that we release the need for external validation and accept the path that is ours alone. This is not easy. It feels unnatural at first because so much of life has trained us to seek approval, to emulate others, to fit into molds not designed for us. Letting go of comparison means paying attention to the quiet voice inside that whispers, your journey is enough. Your life is enough. You are enough exactly as you are. It is a radical act to honor your pace, to celebrate small victories, and to recognize progress even when it is invisible to the outside world. Another barrier to change is fear. The fear of loss, the fear of failure, and the fear of judgment. Change often requires leaving behind people, places, and patterns that no longer serve us. It may demand breaking routines that have been comfortable, even if they were limiting. It can provoke resistance from those around us who prefer the familiar, who fear the unknown as much as we do. And yet the fear that accompanies change is not a sign to stop. It is a signal that you are on the threshold of growth. The presence of fear often marks the edges of your comfort zone, and crossing that threshold is where transformation begins. Change also asks us to examine the stories we tell ourselves, the narratives that have shaped our identity, our decisions, and our relationships often keep us stuck. We tell ourselves that we are too weak, too broken, too late, or too unworthy. We rehearse these stories daily, unconsciously shaping our lives to fit them. But the truth is, stories can be rewritten. Change begins the moment we notice the old story and choose to tell a new one that reflects our potential, our resilience, and our inherent value. It is the story of possibility, not limitation. It is the story that honors our past but refuses to be defined by it. Practical action is the bridge between insight and transformation. Change is not a single leap, but a series of intentional steps, each one reinforcing the new path. Small, consistent choices accumulate into profound shifts over time. Perhaps it is choosing to speak differently to yourself, noticing and interrupting negative self-talk. Perhaps it is making one small adjustment in your routine, prioritizing something that nourishes your mind, body, or soul. Perhaps it is having one courageous conversation that you have been avoiding. Each action, no matter how small, is a declaration that you are committed to your own growth and that you will no longer settle for less than you deserve. Part of the process of change is also learning to sit with discomfort. Transformation is rarely comfortable, and it requires patience, persistence, and self-compassion. Discomfort is the signal that old patterns are being released and new ones are being formed. It is a reminder that growth is happening beneath the surface, even when it is not yet visible. Rather than resisting or avoiding discomfort, we can learn to observe it, breathe through it, and allow it to guide us toward the next step. Change thrives in presence, not in avoidance. Another essential element of change is reflection. Without pause and self-awareness, transformation can become chaotic or misdirected. Take time to notice what is working, what feels aligned, and what still needs attention. Reflect on your intentions, your actions, and your feelings. Ask yourself, am I acting from fear or from authenticity? Am I moving toward what nourishes me, or am I staying stuck in patterns that limit me? Reflection is the compass that keeps us oriented toward growth, helping us navigate the twists and turns of life without losing sight of our destination. Change also requires forgiveness, not just of others, but of ourselves. We may feel guilt or regret about past mistakes, missed opportunities, or ways we have compromised ourselves. These feelings can weigh heavily, slowing progress and eroding confidence. But forgiveness is liberating. It is the recognition that we are human, that mistakes are inevitable, and that self-compassion is necessary for growth. Forgive yourself for the times you stayed small, for the times you ignored your truth, for the moments you doubted your worth. Forgive others who may have hurt you, knowing that holding on to resentment only anchors you to the past. In forgiveness, you create space for transformation, healing, and renewal. Finally, change is about reclaiming your life. It is about stepping into alignment with who you truly are, rather than who you were told to be or who others expected you to become. It is about claiming the right to live fully, boldly, and authentically. Change allows you to honor your values, your dreams, and your worth, and it opens the door to opportunities, relationships, and experiences that are aligned with your true self. It is not an event. It is a journey, a continuous process of letting go, learning, and becoming. To begin practicing change today, start with one conscious choice. Notice one area of your life where comparison, fear, or old stories are keeping you stuck. Take one small step to shift your perspective, adjust your behavior, or set a new intention. Reflect on the courage it takes to move even slightly beyond what is familiar. Celebrate the action, no matter how small, and remind yourself that every step counts. Change is not linear, and setbacks will come, but each moment of intention moves you closer to the life that honors your worth, values, and potential. Step by step, choice by choice, moment by moment, you can release the patterns that no longer serve you and embrace the life that is waiting on the other side. Change is not always easy, but it is always possible. It begins when you decide that your worth, your voice, and your life are worth the effort, the discomfort, and the courage it takes to move forward. Every act of transformation is an affirmation that your value was never up for debate and that you are capable of becoming the person you were always meant to be. Growth is the culmination of awareness, vulnerability, courage, and change. It is the point where all the lessons we have been learning converge, where the choices we have made, the fears we have faced, and the truths we have spoken begin to transform not only our understanding of ourselves, but the way we move through the world. Growth is not an endpoint. It is an ongoing process, a daily commitment to living in alignment with our values, our worth, and our deepest desires. It is a continuous act of showing up for ourselves, no matter how uncertain, uncomfortable, or challenging life may feel. To grow fully, we must embrace the totality of who we are, the light, the shadow, the strengths, and the vulnerabilities. Too often, we attempt to cultivate growth by focusing only on our achievements, our successes, or the external markers of progress. We measure ourselves by what we have accomplished rather than who we have become. But true growth is internal. It is reflected in the way we treat ourselves when no one is watching, in the compassion we extend to our own mistakes, in the courage we muster to keep moving forward when the path is unclear. It is measured not by accolades or recognition, but by our resilience, our authenticity, and our willingness to honor our own worth. Part of growth is learning to fully accept ourselves. Acceptance does not mean complacency or resignation. It means acknowledging the truth of who we are in this moment and choosing to work from that place, rather than from judgment, shame, or self-loathing. We often struggle with this because society, culture, and even our own inner voices tell us that we must be more, do more, or become more before we are worthy. Growth challenges that narrative. It reminds us that our worth is inherent, that our value is not dependent on external validation, and that we do not need to earn the right to exist authentically. Accepting ourselves as we are is the foundation upon which all meaningful growth is built. Growth also requires reflection and learning from experience. Every challenge, every mistake, every failure contains lessons that can guide us if we are willing to notice them. It is not enough to move through life on autopilot, reacting to events and people without insight. Growth asks us to pause, to consider our actions and their impact, to understand what patterns serve us and which ones limit us. By reflecting on our choices, we gain clarity about the steps we need to take, the habits we need to cultivate, and the beliefs we need to release. This reflection is not about self-criticism. It is about self-awareness and the conscious effort to become the person we are capable of being. Another essential element of growth is resilience. Life will always present challenges, setbacks, and disappointments. There will be moments when fear, doubt, or pain threaten to overwhelm us. Growth is the ability to navigate these difficulties without losing sight of our worth or our purpose. It is the capacity to bend without breaking, to recover without resentment, and to keep moving forward even when the journey feels long and arduous. Resilience is built through experience, reflection, and the steady practice of showing up for ourselves, even when it is hard. Each time we endure difficulty with courage and self-compassion, we strengthen our capacity for growth. Growth also involves deepening our relationships with ourselves and with others. It is the willingness to engage authentically, to communicate openly, and to listen deeply. When we grow, we no longer feel compelled to hide, to perform, or to please others at the expense of our own truth. We cultivate connections that are rooted in respect, trust, and mutual care. We recognize that healthy relationships support growth, while toxic patterns hinder it. By choosing to surround ourselves with people who honor our worth, who challenge us to be better without judgment, and who celebrate our authenticity, we create an environment that fosters ongoing development and fulfillment. Integral to growth is the practice of gratitude and recognition of progress. In the pursuit of becoming, it is easy to overlook how far we have come, focusing instead on what remains to be done. Growth reminds us to pause, to acknowledge the courage we have shown, the steps we have taken, and the strength we have discovered within ourselves. Gratitude is not merely for what we receive from the world, it is also for the effort, resilience, and integrity we demonstrate in our own lives. Recognizing progress fuels motivation, reinforces self-worth, and illuminates the path ahead with clarity and confidence. Growth requires us to let go of what no longer serves us, the stories, habits, beliefs, and relationships that keep us small. This process of release can be painful because it involves confronting parts of ourselves we have relied on for safety or identity. Yet without letting go, there can be no expansion. Growth asks us to shed old layers, to release the patterns that keep us